Russia launched another deadly attack on Kyiv overnight, and India's prime minister is promising to find and punish the attackers who killed 26 people this week. Most of the victims were Hindu men. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Russia has launched deadly strikes on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, overnight. This came after the Trump administration pushed a plan to end Russia's war on Ukraine. The plan sharply favors the Kremlin. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports from Kyiv that drones and missiles rained down on the city overnight, killing at least 9 people and wounding 70 more.
I recorded these explosions overnight as Ukrainian air defense tried to shoot down a buzzing drone flying over our neighborhood. The Ukrainian military says Russia launched 215 drones and missiles at Ukraine, most aimed at Kyiv, in one of the deadliest strikes on the capital. In a video post on social media, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said rescue workers were digging survivors out with their bare hands. Once again, we are seeing the face of Russian peace, he said with sarcasm. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says he's cutting short a trip to South Africa to return to Kyiv. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
President Trump has issued a rare rebuke of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Writing online, Trump says he's not happy with Russia's overnight drone and missile attacks on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Trump says, quote, "Vladimir, stop." Trump goes on to say, "Let's get the peace deal done." President Trump says he is going to work toward a fair trade deal with China. This comes as the U.S. and China have slapped steep tariffs on each other's exports. It's rattled stock market investors, but NPR's Asma Khalid explains why Trump may be hinting at a change.
There's really two main reasons for the shift. This tariff rate, if they remain in place, they would virtually bring trade between China and the U.S. to a halt. But this is also fundamentally about the stock market and the economic uncertainty that Trump's tariffs have created. Trump initially acknowledged that there could be some sort of short-term economic pain, but that it would be worth it. And now you hear his team boasting that they're striking deals, that they're in conversation with some 90 countries.
NPR's Asma Khalid reporting. However, Beijing is rejecting any talk of a trade deal between China and the United States. Chinese officials say that any report of trade talks between the countries is false. A dozen states are suing to try to block President Trump's global tariffs, alleging these are illegal. From member station KJZZ, Cameron Sanchez reports a coalition of Democratic attorneys general has filed a lawsuit.
The 12 attorneys general argue that Congress, not the president, holds the power to impose tariffs. The suit notes that in emergencies, the president has the power to create tariffs, but says that Trump is overstepping his bounds and illegally declaring tariffs at his whim. The lawsuit is co-led by Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays.
We are facing an unprecedented and lawless presidency, one that has made a habit over the last 3 months of disregarding the separation of powers and ignoring the 2 other co-equal branches of government.
The attorneys general are specifically challenging 4 of Trump's executive orders and argue the tariffs will leave Americans shouldering high costs. For NPR News, I'm Cameron Sanchez in Phoenix.
Officials at the Vatican have kept the doors open all night at St. Peter's Basilica. That was to allow about 50,000 mourners to pass the body of Pope Francis in the first 24 hours of viewing. NPR's Lauren Freyer reports from Rome the basilica is still open.
Amid higher-than-expected turnout, the Vatican closed St. Peter's only for about an hour around 6 a.m. local time for cleaning. Among those joining the shuffling, hushed line up the basilica's main aisle is Martine Jabi, who traveled from France.
Just to say goodbye, and we know he will see the Father, he will see God.
Some waited more than 5 hours to see the Pope's body in a red velvet-lined simple wood coffin. Francis died of a stroke Monday, aged 88. After Saturday's funeral attended by world leaders, the Pope will be buried outside the Vatican in a break with tradition, at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in an immigrant area. Lauren Freyer, NPR News, Rome.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says his country will find the attackers who killed 26 people this week. Most victims were Hindu men. NPR's Dia Hadid reports from Mumbai. Indian officials are blaming Pakistan, which denies responsibility.
Modi said India would find and punish, quote, every terrorist, their handlers, their backers. The attack outraged many Indians, not just for the scale of the killing, but the context. Gunmen attacked tourists in a meadow, turning a scenic attraction into a killing field. They targeted men. Eyewitnesses told local media that gunmen asked if they were Muslims before killing them. The group which claimed responsibility for the attack is seen as a proxy for the Pakistani military. On Wednesday, India said it was suspending its decades-old water treaty with Pakistan. Pakistani officials say the attack was a pretext by India to deny the country water. Dia Hadid, NPR News, Mumbai.
A federal judge in Vermont has begun hearings on the detention of a Columbia University student by federal immigration authorities. The Trump administration wants to deport Mohsen Madawi for his pro-Palestinian activism. NPR's Adrian Florido reports immigration agents arrested Madawi last week when he showed up for his U.S. citizenship test.
Mohsen Madawi was in the courtroom as his lawyers asked that he be granted bail. They argue the government is trying to deport him solely for his political activism, a violation of his First Amendment right to free speech. Lawyer Cyrus Mehta read a statement from Madawi outside the Burlington courthouse.
I don't want people to lose hope. Stay positive and believe in the inevitability of justice.
Government lawyers want Madawi to remain in ICE custody in Vermont. The judge gave them a few days to file papers explaining why. He'll hold a second hearing next week. Adrian Florido, NPR News.
The retrial of disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein resumes today in New York. He is accused of sexually abusing 3 women. His earlier conviction was overturned by New York's highest court. Weinstein's lead attorney, Arthur Aidala, says the accusers are manipulative.
That the truth is, there was some serious relationships that Mr. Weinstein had with these people that were consensual.
Prosecutors sharply disagree. So does Lindsay Goldbroom, the lawyer for one of the women. She says Weinstein's lawyer statements are offensive.
And we're just simply mischaracterizations and outright mistruths as it is connected to the lives and the experiences of these women.
Separately, Weinstein has been convicted of rape and sexual misconduct in California. He's been sentenced to 16 years in prison. His lawyers are appealing. The Tennessee Board of Parole has recommended country music star Jelly Roll should be pardoned by the governor for his criminal record. Jelly Roll, a Nashville native, has spoken candidly about his criminal record and his rehabilitation. Jelly Roll often visits jails and rehabilitation centers before he goes to perform concerts. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.